Hello everyone and welcome to my brand new channel TA Universe. So lately I have been wondering to open up our review and breakdown channel, but then I was not sure whether I should start up this new venture, but now finally I have decided to do so because I want to do it. So today we are going to talk about Shang Chi and the Legend of Ten Rings. Yes, I know that the movie has been released almost 15 days ago, but I am making the breakdown right now because I have opened the channel right now only, and I wanted to start off my channel with a Marvel movie. So without delaying any further, let's start the breakdown of Shang Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. But before that, let's bring up the intro. And the video contains heavy spoilers, so watch it at your own risk. So the movie Shang-Chi shows a very different side of Marvel, meaning a different culture, different sort of storyline, different character arcs, and a completely different type of action sequences that gives it an essence of a completely non-Marvel movie in a positive way. The story has a very basic and simple but yet persuasive, interesting and thrilling plot. The story begins with Shang-Chi's mother narrating to us as to how Mandarin gets his hand on the Ten Rings thousands of years ago and how he uses these rings to be the conqueror of the entire world, and at the same time these rings provide him eternity since he never ages when he wears those rings. But other than this, in the entire movie we actually never get any more information about the origin of these rings, which actually makes sense when we watch the post-credit scene of the movie, which I will talk about later in the video. Moving on, after conquering every possible place on Earth, Wenwu was still not satisfied and he goes to conquer a secret place known as Ta Lo. Now here let me give you a very brief information about what Ta Lo is. So in the Marvel comics, Ta Lo is a kind of a pocket dimension or a heavenly place, more like the Asgard. But whereas in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they have taken a different take and they have shown Ta Lo to us as a secret place that exists on Earth itself, but the people on Earth actually do not know about it. So these are the information about Ta Lo that I knew and I thought I should share it with you guys. So moving on, after going to Ta Lo, he meets Lee there and they have a fight and during the fight only they fall in love. And then Wenwu also realizes that Lee is very much stronger than him, and even with the power of the Ten Rings he could not defeat her. But now since they both had fallen in love, Lee decides to leave her village since Wenwu was not allowed to enter there because of the past crimes he had done, and also he promises that he would never use those Ten Rings again, which actually makes sense because now he had a motive in his life, he had a family, he had a proper life. So the both start living happily. They gave birth to two children, Shang-Chi and his sister, and I'm going to refer as Shang-Chi's sister in the entire video because I'm not going to be able to pronounce a difficult name again and again. Anyways, moving on. As you know, there is a saying that past never leaves you and it will always hunt you, and the same thing happened with Wenwu. When he was not at home, some old enemies of his came to his house, fought with his wife and killed her. Seeing this, he turned back to his old form. Obviously, he went and took the revenge. Now he had started also training his son Shang-Chi to be an assassin so that he could avenge his mother's death. But his sisters were not allowed to train with the boys. So she used to train herself by seeing the boys training. And she actually trained herself very well. But anyways, moving on. Shang-Chi realizes at the age of 14 that he does not want to be an assassin. He realizes what sort of crook his father was. And he runs away from his house. And he left his sister alone, who also after some time runs away and goes to Macau, where she starts her own fight club. Anyways, moving on. Shang-Chi was living a life happily in Washington until his father decides to jump in between to ruin it. After so many years, he sent his men to bring a pendant from Shang-Chi which was given to him by his mother, and during that the whole last fight sequence takes place. They take the pendant from him and then he realizes that one more pendant is actually with his sister, and he got a letter from his sister a few days back and he decides to go to Macau to find his sister. But when he goes in, he realized that it's a huge fight club run by his sister, and he had to fight with his sister who was all ready to give him because he left her alone with his father, and he was such a man who actually never even loved her to begin with. Now here, before I move on to the story further, there's one more event that takes place here, and that is a fight between Wong and Abomination. Now we have a lot of questions as to how Abomination is there and why is Wong fighting with him and where did he take him after the fight. So for this there are few possibilities. Either Wong is training Abomination for something that we will actually see in the upcoming She-Hulk series, for which Abomination is already casted, and I'm saying this because I've seen Wong telling Abomination as to how he should control his punches, and he's been telling him how to train better, and he also takes him somewhere with him for further training. Other possibility could be Wong fighting with Abomination for some side income because not every superhero is Tony Stark and everyone do need money. But I do find the first probability more possible. Whatever you think, you can comment down in the comment section. Moving on, we see that after Shang-Chi and his sister have a fight where Shang-Chi gets very badly beaten up and his own friend Katie bets against him and wins money, and that's actually a very nice comedy scene to talk about. And here I also have to appreciate the actor Aquafina for her commendable role and to provide those comic reliefs in on the tense situation in the movie. Now, moving on. After the entire fight sequence, we also then see that the main scene by Wenwu have also come there, and then one more fight sequence takes place, which is very good except some places where it was too hard to understand what is actually happening. But later we see that Wenwu himself was there, and it was actually him who has sent a letter to Shang-Chi and not his sister. And then Wenwu takes Shang-Chi, his sister, and Kitty along with him to China, and then we actually get to know that why Wenwu was actually taking those pendant from them, because he feels that his wife is still alive and she's captured by her own people in Talo as a punishment, and she was now calling him to save her, and now they would go there with his army, and if needed he was even ready to burn that place to its ground. But Shang-Chi was against it, and so Shang-Chi was obviously thrown into prison along with his sister, and there we get to see that fake Mandarin we saw in Iron Man 2. Anyways, moving on, along with that fake Mandarin we also see Morris, which is actually a creature that belongs to that place Talo, and it can only talk with that fake Mandarin. And with the help of that, they all decide to go to Talo, and they somehow manage to even reach there. And after going there, Shang-Chi meets his aunt. She actually tells him that the voice that his father was listening was actually the voice of the Dark Dweller, which had been trapped inside the Great Wall, and knows that the power of the Ten Rings could release it, and that's why it was calling him. But nevertheless, they started training themselves for the fight they had to face, and the next day the entire fight thing happens, and by the end, when we actually realizes that he was wrong and the Dark Dweller was about to kill him when he hands over those rings to Shang-Chi. But it was not that Shang-Chi actually got those rings at that moment only. Before that, they both had a fight, and during that fight, Shang-Chi actually got control over those rings over his father. Now here, if you talk about the Dark Dweller, in the comic books, the Dark Dweller belongs to the very same dimension where Nightmare comes from. And Nightmare is actually the assumed villain of Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. And even though Dark Dweller considers Nightmare as his best friend, but Nightmare actually never cared about him much. And in the comic books, the Dark Dweller actually feeds on people's fear, which is actually changed in the Marvel Cinematic Universe where he feeds on people's soul. These are the information about him I knew, so I thought I should share it with you guys. Now, using the 10 rings and a great protector, which is actually the dragon that shapes Shang-Chi's life, Shang-Chi finally kills Dark Dweller, and the entire fight things ends there. After that, at the way end, we see Shang-Chi and Katie sharing all these stories with their friends in the bar, who are actually feeling that these people are actually considering them nursery kids and narrating them some adventurous story. But at that moment only, we see a portal opening from behind, and we see Wong coming out of that portal. He takes a shot and asks Shang-Chi if he still have those rings with him, and he then takes Katie and Shang-Chi with him to Kamatage, and the movie ends here. But, as you know, it's a Marvel movie, and a Marvel movie without a post-credit scene is like Vin Diesel without his family. I know it was a very bad joke, but let's move on. So we have two post-credit scenes in a movie. One the mid-credit one, and the one is the end-credit one. Let's discuss the end-credit scene first. So in the end-credit scene, we see that Shang-Chi's sister after her father's death, had actually now taken control over the Ten Rings organization, and she was actually not controlling that. Now there are certain things that can happen in the future. Maybe the organization will no longer be like what it used to be in the past, and now it will work for money only, but maybe for the right cause. But then again, the kind of character arc we have seen of Shang-Chi's sister, it's not that she's a pure angel. She's a kind of an anti-hero, so we can actually, because she has some sort of emotional build-up inside her, so we can actually see something different also happening in the future. But one thing that is sure is that we are actually going to see her in the future in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because at the end of the movie we see that the 10 Rings will return, and usually in any movie we see that Iron Man will return, Doctor Strange will return, Spider-Man will return, but this time it's the 10 Rings will return, which actually means that we're going to very soon see her and 10 Rings organization again in the future in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And one more thing that I have to say here is that now in this organization, not only boys but girls are also trained, which actually makes sense because that's what she wanted anyway, and she herself trained herself, and she was now training more girls in the future. Now, what do you think will happen to 10 Rings in the future? You can comment down your views in the comment section. Now, let's talk about the most important part, the mid-credit scene. Here we have a lot of questions. First of all, we see Wong analyzing those 10 Rings and saying that when Shang-Chi used those 10 Rings for the very first time, the effect could be felt till Kamatage. So here the question arises as to why this effect was never felt all these years when Wenwu was using those rings. So see, One thing, if you guys have noticed in a movie, is that when you uses those rings, the rings have blue color, whereas when Shang-Chi uses those rings, it turns orange. Now the question is why? So see, every individual has their own energy signature, and this energy signature has its own color. Like if you see Doctor Strange, the energy signature is actually orange. For Wanda's chaos magic, it's actually red. When it comes to dark magic like Agatha, it's purple. The energy signature that was reflected when Wendy was using the rings was blue. This is because maybe when he was using those rings, he actually did something with the rings, because of which the rings never actually were in its full potential. Or in other words, the ring's energy was limited. But when Shang-Chi used it, the case was different. The ring came to its full potential, the energy was no more limited, and that's how it changed its energy signature, and its presence could be felt, and now the rings were sending a beacon to somewhere. Now moving back to the post-credit scene, we see that Bruce Banner, not Professor Hulk, was there along with Captain Marvel. So Bruce said that these rings are not made up of vibranium. Captain Marvel says that these rings do not belong to cosmic source, and saying that she actually gets a call from somewhere, she leaves from there, maybe it was a call from Nick Fury or someone else. But now the question still remains as to who these rings belong to, and like I said in the very beginning of the video, this is the reason why they actually never showed the source of the ring in the movie, because in the movie. Now if we talk about in the comic books, the rings actually belong to an alien origin from whom Wenwu steals these rings, and maybe in Marvel Cinematic Universe they might take this take. And they might show that these rings are sending beacon to them, and we might see something happening in Shang-Chi too. But then again, if this actually belonged to alien origin, then Captain Marvel should have actually known about them, which she didn't. And I feel that these rings have some connection with the Celestials and the Eternals, because they are also some sort of related to such things of cosmic energy and things. And maybe we can see it connected to the Eternals, and maybe the signal it is sending is to the Deviants we will also see in the upcoming movie Eternals. And that is the reason why Captain Marvel had no idea about the origin of the things. And even in Kamartaj, where they have numerous magical things, they also have no idea about it. But whatever it is, the Marvel actually did a very clever thing by not showing the origin of these rings, and now they can actually take whatever take they want with these rings in the future. But then we see Wong telling them that they should rest now because they have a long time, they had a long day, and says that they need to be ready for the future. And then we see them doing karaoke, which I never thought I'd see Wong doing, and the mid-credit scene ends here. But the question does not end here. We still have a very big question left. Why or how was Bruce Banner in his Bruce Banner form? Because in Endgame we saw that he had turned into Professor Hulk. Now there are few outcomes that are possible. One is, maybe since he was not present there physically and only his hologram was present, he had used some sort of device to come in his Bruce Banner form. But then again, if you take reference to the Marvel comic, then in the comic books, it's the She-Hulk that we have is actually Bruce Banner's cousin. She becomes She-Hulk because one day when she urgently needed blood, Bruce Banner gave her his own blood that contained gamma radiation, and with that help of that blood, she became She-Hulk. But since Bruce Banner had given her his blood, he now did not have enough energy to control himself and stay as Professor Hulk. So he could be either Bruce Banner or the Mad Hulk. And honestly, I would love to see the Mad Hulk again, and I actually want to see it again. But whatever it is, we'll get to see it in the She-Hulk series that is coming very soon. And I think this entire thing was actually a build up for that. And whatever you guys feel, you can comment down in the comment section. Feel free to do so. And now I would like to shut down my video here only. Hope you like my video, and I know that I have missed a lot of things, but I had to cover everything in the movie in this one video only because it's my very first video. I don't want to make one more video on the Shang-Chi only. But anyways, do like and share my video and subscribe to my channel. Make sure the red subscribe button turns grey. I don't know how you're going to do that, but I want that subscribe button to turn grey. With saying that, I'll see you again in my next video. Till then, goodbye, take care, stay happy, and keep everyone else happy.